Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. Bax, Ohio State is in the midst of finals week. This means Joe Burrow will be graduating very soon. Now, I have heard, and this is nothing official or anything, obviously, but I've heard, through the grapevine that after the post-spring evaluations that it's very close, but the Haskins might have the edge here. And I think that means Burrow will transfer if Urban Meyer tells Burrow that Haskins has the edge. Just what do you foresee happening with the quarterback situation?
I foresee Urban not wanting to name a quarterback and Joe Burrow saying, if I'm not the starter, I'm not staying. And that means Joe Burrow is going to be playing football for Nebraska next year, which is pretty much what I've been saying all along. I have no reason to change my mind on this one. I think Joe's a darn good player. I think he's going to immediately be a top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten at Nebraska. It's going to make them a much, much better team. But I don't think Urban's going to say that he has a starter. I really don't. And I think that's not going to be, if Urban doesn't pick him as the starter, I don't think Burrow's going to stick around. He's going to start somewhere else. Here, if he's not given that guarantee, well, guess what? He has his degree. He's going to go somewhere where he knows he's going to play for a year or two before he, in his mind, goes off to play in the NFL. So I have not given any reason the last couple of weeks to change my mind on this. And I'm staying with what I've been saying for months. I think Joe Burrow is going to start for Nebraska this year.
Urban's been pretty upfront that he was going to talk to the Burrow family about it and everything, and he was going to shoot him straight. And that's something I've never heard him say. Just as far as how just in depth he went with that, and just how candid he was about how he was going to kind of break it down after spring ball. So I tend to think he could say it's even, but there's a good chance he could tell the Burrow family even privately that Dwayne Haskins is the leader, or maybe Joe Burrow's the leader. I've agreed with you for a long time that I thought he was going to say it was even, but now from everything I'm hearing, I think he might be leaning towards Haskins.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, here's the deal. This is the kind of competition that if there wasn't a transfer concern here, then we wouldn't be talking about, whether Haskins is quote-unquote leading. I think it's a tight race between the two. It's a type of race Urban wants to take into camp. But the blunt truth at this point is that he's not going to be able to. And I think there's something to be said about when he's talking about this whole shooting him straight and talking to the whole Burrow family thing. To me, that's a lot of Urban saying publicly very loudly that another member of the top-end D1 coaching profession's child is at his school, and he wants to make it very clear in public so that nobody can say anything else that, to besmirch, I guess, the way he's handled the situation. There's going to be people out there who could use this against OSU if it's not done in the right way. Oh, yeah, remember Joey Burrow, good Ohio kid? His dad was a coach, and then Urban didn't tell him the straight story. And if his dad's a coach and Urban didn't tell him the truth, what's he going to tell you, random recruit? So I think that's why Urban's trying to make this as clear and as open and as transparent as possible about talking with the entire Burrow family, specifically to stave off any of that criticism that could come his way.
It's my first time talking to you since the Buckeyes landed 5-star wide receiver Garrett Wilson right out of the outstretched arms of Tom Herman, our good friend Bax. I know Garrett Wilson does have original roots in Dublin, Ohio, so that does help. And it does help that Matthew Baldwin is on Ohio State's football roster. The guy that was throwing him passes last season. But getting a 5-star wide receiver out of Austin, Texas, not just out of Texas, but out of Austin, Texas. The beat goes on for Ohio State, not just recruiting well, but doing great in the Longhorn State.
I'm going to pass on this opportunity to gloat because the player you just described is a wide receiver version of a certain player by the name of Zach Harrison. Imagine how much we would all flip out if Harrison doesn't come to OSU this year. 5-star kid out of Central, everybody calls Olentangy, Columbus, Ohio, right? Well, that's the kind of angst they're going through, folks. Imagine if we don't get Harrison in this class. Now, I think Ohio State's going to land Harrison. I think this is a situation where there was a much different, outlook on whether or not the hometown team even was the favorite. But this is a huge win for Ohio State. It's the kind of player Texas certainly did not want to let out of their backyard. And, truth be told, this is the kind of recruit that Ohio State has literally never landed except during the Meyer era. You don't go to Texas and land 5-star kids who Their other top choice is Texas. We used to go to Texas and land kids like J.T. Barrett that Texas passed on because they wanted to get, the 18-wheeler or something. Or, we used to go to Texas and Ohio State would get kids that were very, very good players, but, hey, maybe the Texas, decided to pass on them, and the other Texas schools were the competition. And what are you going to pick, A&M or OSU? It's a very different ballgame when the Longhorns are involved. So this is a huge win for Ohio State, and it's one of those wins that we're used to now, right? When Urban Meyer leaves Ohio State someday in the hopefully very distant future, this is the kind of thing that disappears very quickly and is far from a slam dunk. This is like watching Mark McGwire hit 500-foot home runs and thinking everybody did that. So, recognize this for what this is. This is an enormous win for OSU that I think most fans are casually kind of like, cool, we got another 5-star kid. It's a huge deal. In the grand scheme of things, this is a very rare thing for Ohio State.
And Mark McGwire, as he has pointed out, he could have hit 70 home runs even if he didn't use steroids. So, you got to take Mark McGwire at his word, as we know. Speaking of recruiting in the state of Texas, as Ohio State's concerned, Grant Gunnell, one of the top quarterbacks in the country in the class of 2018 from Houston, Texas, number 3 pro-style quarterback in the country, number 96 overall in the country, 24/7 Sports Composite. Buckeyes are the favorite. You look at the 24/7 Sports Composite, the Crystal Ball picks, Ohio State 54%, and I think that might be way conservative. Looking good for Grant Gunnell, Bax.
Yeah, and by the way, you want another argument, and I said this before, about why I think that Dwayne Haskins is going to start this year? Look at the style of player Ohio State is being in the middle of recruiting. Matthew Baldwin last year. Now a guy like Grant Gunnell. And the truth is that Gunnell is a guy who fits the Haskins-Baldwin pro-style mold. He's a like you said, the number 3 pro-style quarterback in the country, top 100 player. Again, the kind of kid, if that he was in-state at Ohio State, we would be panicking at the idea of losing. And right now he's a heavy, heavy, heavy favorite to end up in Columbus, Ohio. So, this is just, I think it's a little bit of, people like to talk about, you've heard the phrase demographics is destiny. Recruiting is destiny, right? We know what Ohio State's offense is going to look like the next couple of years. Really, the only player on the roster that fits the old school Urban Meyer offense is Tate Martell. So, bringing Gunnell into this class, which, by the way, I don't know if it's a twin billing, but I know Bill Kurlick has already said that Gunnell is going to end up at Ohio State. So if both the Bills have already put their stamp of approval on him, you can almost assume that this thing's done in as far as it's ever going to be. This is just another big win for Ohio State. And I feel like we could sit here and literally have a podcast and go, yeah, and OSU landed yet another great recruit. And just leave it at that. But, really, this is amazing. Ohio State barely ever got kids from Texas, and when they did, they were 3-star kids, or they weren't the top-tier kids, and now they're just casually going and landing, the top player at their position in the state. That's just crazy.
Yeah, if the dean and the bank say it's happening when it comes to Ohio State recruiting. You're right.
Yeah, the twin billing. That's all it is. The double billing. It's over.
I like it, the twin billing. I like it. I like the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. Thank you very much, Bax. Appreciate your time as always. You can catch his column, of course, every Sunday on Bucknuts. It is The Bucket. Thank you very much, Matt Baxendell, and thank you to all the listeners out there for tuning in the show. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. Let's hear the Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.